Welcome back, everybody.
How you doing?
Life's been good.
Yeah.
It's been, I don't know, a couple weeks since we sat down again. We have a couple upgrades.
Yeah.
We're up to 4 cameras from 3, so
Boom,
Lily,
boom, boom, boom.
Lily and Taylor have their own angles now, so that'd be kind of nice.
So
Hopefully
good.
the audio's a little sharper this time around, too.
Yeah.
Lighting's a little better.
Testing.
But yeah, welcome back to On The Rock. I think it'd be cool to just kind of touch on ourselves a lot more, because I think we did a somewhat solid job first time around, but I think we could dive deeper, get a little more personal. We had our young adult group last night, and we talked a lot about like who you want to be remembered as, and like I guess times in your life that felt tough but you needed to go through, almost like things that were bad that God turned to be good.
Mm-hmm.
And I think revolving around that subject line is a really great place to be today, because I think we could apply that a lot to our own lives.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I'm thinking about where we should go. So
Yeah. I'm liking it.
I'm cool with that.
yeah,
You want to start us off, Jacob?
totally. How did I get to where I am today? I could trace that back several years. I grew up playing sports. I grew up playing baseball. It's pretty much all I've ever known. And it was a huge part of my identity. Like, it was like Jacob and Jacob associated with baseball. And I think I often let it dictate my life in so many ways, to a point where, like, my life decisions were based on baseball. What I did, who I hung out with, what activities I participated in.
Mm-hmm.
But I also let it dictate, like, how I went about my life, too. Like, I think Taylor and I had a really good conversation yesterday about how he would allow basketball games growing up dictate how he felt. Like, if he had a poor game, he would let that kind of reflect or affect the remainder of his day. And I was like that a lot myself, where I allowed myself to almost, like, if I had like a bad day at the field, it ruined my entire day. And I remember I actually met with a sports psychiatrist at one point, and it was such a simple, like, thing to think about, where it's like, it's such a small part of your life, and when you're off the field or off the court, there's more to life than just the sport.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you could go out there and you could have a bad game, but you could go home to a loving and happy family.
Yeah.
You could go home to a roof over your head. You could go home to food in your fridge. There's just so much more to life than the sport.
Mm-hmm.
And when he put that in perspective for me, I think it was something I recognized or acknowledged and just kind of said, yeah, sure, whatever. But it wasn't something I was truly investing into. So I started to look at life more from that perspective. And I began to find myself realizing, like, I can live my life without baseball. And because for the longest time, it felt like, if this is like make or break. If I don't do this, what am I going to do with myself? And fast forward, probably end of 2024, I kind of came down to a pivotal moment with, I guess, I wouldn't say a leader in my life, but someone I looked to for, like, advice.
Mm-hmm.
And I just kind of told him, like, hey, I'm kind of getting to this fork in the road where I need to make a decision. Do I continue on the path that I am on today, continue to play baseball, live up north and on the Central Coast, or do I go home? Do I go home, start my life after college, figure out what I want to do with my career, grow, plant some roots, and start to really just live life beyond the sport? And we prayed about it, and we talked about it for weeks, and I ended up making the decision to come home and just pursue life after sports, after college. And I look back at it now, and it's probably one of the best decisions I ever made, and I'm so happy with where things have gone. I ended up surrounding myself with a really incredible community. But that wasn't like the fairy tale ending to it, because I found a family at church. I found a career, but a lot of that took significant time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, I want to say April or May, had some health issues. I had some career issues fall through, so I didn't get jobs I wanted. And there was several other things that just happened all kind of around the same time that really put me in this pit where, like, I felt like I was just kind of staring at walls, had zero direction, and I just didn't know what to do with myself. I was spending a lot of time alone. So I just kind of thought about it for a while, just prayed about it, and I just felt the calling to get more involved at church.
Mm.
So I reached out to Jillian, and I found myself wanting to get involved in youth ministry. So I started just kind of vaguely helping out, not really like leading or teaching or talking, but just like helping with like setup and cleanup and just some simple stuff like that. And she's like, "Hey, do you want to come to summer camp with us at Hume Lake up in the Sequoias?" And at first I was like, no, like this isn't something I would do. This is not me. This isn't something I'm comfortable with. But then, I was like 3 days before we went to camp, I told her, like, if you could get me a spot, I'll go. Because I just had this, like, sense that, like, I'm hesitant to go, but I know if I go, I'll come back and realize that it was the right thing to do. It was worth it, and I'm so glad I went. And so I decided to go, and before you knew it, I came back, and I'm like, I'm so glad I went. And to me, that was kind of like the catalyst out of this season of waiting that really helped me form deeper relationships with people in my community, but also put myself in a role of being a mentor. And I slowly found things that I had been wanting falling into place. Health got better, career ended up lining up, friendships became like family, and I couldn't be more grateful for the fruits that season of waiting ended up bearing for me. And now I'm here today. Now I'm here just hanging out with my friends, doing something really cool, and yeah, that's kind of my 1.5, 2-year background.
That's so awesome. I have a question for you, actually.
Yes.
So, there were kind of two big decisions that you had to make, one coming home and the other going to camp. What was it that was going through your head during both of those decisions? And what made you decide to come home and also decide to go to camp?
Camp was one of those things where I just had a strange sense that going, I was going to come out of it being so grateful I went. I'm unsure if I want to go, but I have a feeling that if I go, I'm going to look back at it and be like, I'm so glad I did it. It was so worth it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I ended up getting from it. And I think a lot of that kind of goes to this whole idea of like positive mindsets around things. Like if you have a negative mindset going into anything or when you're pursuing anything, you're often going to get the negative outcomes. So if you go into either a career or a project or a relationship with a negative mindset, you're often going to get negative effects from those things. So you have to have the optimistic mindset, even if like your gut feeling is you're not sure, you're unsure, and that's where faith comes into play. Is you gotta have faith when you don't know the results and the results are unknown. In terms of the life decision to come home, I think the idea of coming home just seemed more interesting than staying where I was. And I think looking at the environment around me when I was making that decision, I was like, I think my time here is over and it's time for me to move on to something else. And I recognized the bitter reality of that, and I was at peace with walking away from something I was so familiar with and have pretty much really only ever known. So yeah, I think that's kind of my thought process behind those two big decisions.
That's awesome.
That's crazy to think about because I like can remember like very like vividly when we first got to camp and we finally we set our bags down in the cabin and you pull a chair outside, you sit down, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm ready for Sunday. And we had just gotten there. It was
I remember we were sitting on the porch and it was like Sunday afternoon. I look in my cabin and there's 12-year-old boys just bouncing off the walls. And I look at Taylor and I'm like, what did I get myself into? I shouldn't be here right now. But you know what? I'm here now. I just gotta figure it out. Like really got thrown to the wolves in youth ministry there. But
Yeah.
I wouldn't have done it any differently, honestly.
Yeah, that was one of the best weeks ever.
That was a
Like,
fun
it
week. That
genuinely
was a great week.
It was awesome. What about you?
Me?
Tell us, Lily. Tell us everything.
Okay, I guess I've been through definitely some ups and downs, but one thing that I feel like it was a really hard thing to go through, but I've seen how God was working through it, was actually losing my best friend Sailor in high school. She passed away when she was a junior and I was a senior, and at the time I called myself a Christian, but I definitely didn't go to church or read the Bible. I just had that label stamped on me and said, yeah, I believe in that. And it wasn't until she passed that I started thinking about my faith more and wanting to dive a bit deeper into it. It was during, I want to say it was her 2-year anniversary of since she had passed away, or it might have been her 2-year anniversary of her birthday since she had passed. And we were meeting up with some of her friends, and I remember one of her friends, Anthony, had invited me to his church and said, you know, I play in the worship band and it'd be cool to have you come by. And I said, you know, sure, let's do that. And I went with my mom, and that was honestly the first experience of I feel like what church is supposed to feel like, just welcoming and understanding the message and really just diving into the Bible and hearing what God wants to tell us. And there's even just a lot of familiar faces at the church. Like I had my preschool teacher and my 2nd grade science teacher there, and I was like, oh my goodness, I haven't seen you guys in years, and you guys come here? And they're like, yeah, we love it. And I just felt like that was it was definitely something hard to go through, losing Sailor. And I'm not saying that losing Sailor was what brought me to the Lord, but I think God can use those hard situations to bring us closer to Him. And I definitely think that was a situation where I definitely just felt like I had lost everything. I lost my best friend, and I was a kid, so kids don't really understand grief well. And I'd even have kids in my classes say stuff to me that I was like, you just don't get it. Like, they'd say, can you stop posting all that depressing stuff online? It's really getting tiring. And I'm like, I'm just posting a photo of my friend Sailor. Like, I'm grieving right now. I don't know what to do. And I think just having God be an anchor for me during that hardship was something that really just helped me find peace in that, and also just knowing that she was someone who truly loved the Lord and she was always reading her Bible. It's definitely something that I wish I kind of talked to her more about when she was here, but I definitely know that once I do go to heaven one day, I could talk to her about it and just thank her for helping be someone to grow me closer to the Lord.
That's great. Wow.
Yeah.
Do you the idea of being grateful for the phases in life where you go through hardships and struggles, do you often find yourself looking back in hindsight at those things, thinking like in the present time it was like, wouldn't say horrible, but difficult to deal with and go through? But do you find yourself looking back at it now and being like, I'm so grateful that I experienced those things?
Yeah, it's definitely hard to say because I don't want to be someone that says, "Oh, I'm glad my friend died," but
Right.
yeah, like, "Oh, good job," but
Yeah.
I'm grateful that I was able to go through something at such a young age because I've definitely have been able to help others who have gone through grief. It's one of those things that I know there's some really bad things that can happen here on earth, but God can really change them around to bring them glory for Him. Like, I mean, this is a big example, but Jesus dying, that was awful. That was just horrific, bloody, just cruel, but God made that one of the most beautiful things by saving all of us through that. And I think there's a lot of times where us as humans, we do have these really hardships. We have these things that kind of just, that bring us back down and make us just feel lost, but it's in those times that God works the strongest, I think.
Do you think God allows us to go through hardship, or do you think that's just
Like
something,
a worldly thing.
a worldly thing that's just the unfortunate reality of our free will?
That's interesting because I forget what story it was in the Bible, if it was something that we read at young adults. And the wording of it almost kind of made it sound like God was allowing certain bad things to happen sometimes, but it wasn't necessarily Him, like saying, "Oh, I'm doing this," but
Yeah.
He allowed it to happen.
I know Job, the story of Job.
Yeah,
That specific scenario, God allowed Satan to intervene in Job's life and to take everything from him, to test Job's faith, and Job stayed faithful. He didn't curse God. He didn't like stray away from Him. He stayed faithful, and Job got everything back in return because he was faithful. I know that specific story, God allowed it. I think that He allows us to go through hardships. I think He allows us to go through difficult times. If we're sitting there and we're praying to God like, I want to be a great human being. In order to be great, you have to go through those challenging eras.
Like asking for strength.
Exactly.
He's going to give us things that will strengthen us.
Exactly. We're not just going to suddenly just like poof like a genie, have strength. Like He's going to give us the opportunity to find the strength.
Yeah. And I think it's one of those things that can be a worldly bad thing that just happens because we're on this earth and there's sin everywhere, but there's also some situations, I think, where honestly, I'm not sure. I don't want to say anything specific because that's something I'm even still thinking about and don't know the full answer to. But I could see it going both ways, where it's just bad things happen, but God's able to save us through those. Or I could also see it being, like, just because I'm very grateful for all the hardships I had to go through. Even though I did lose a friend, like, I'm grateful I was able to go through that because I feel like I'm even closer to her now. And, yeah, it's really interesting, and a lot of it just doesn't make sense. It's more of just a feeling of that peace after going through that.
What do you got, Taylor?
Yeah, what about you, Taylor?
What do you got for us?
Yeah. Mine is definitely very similar to your story, Jacob. I mean, I had always grown up in the church. I grew up, from, like, I like to say I have a pretty vanilla testimony, which, really quickly, vanilla testimonies, I know it's not like not grand, not I wasn't addicted to drugs and then God freed me. But I think that there's still so much beauty in those plain testimonies because that means that you had people older than you pouring into you, and I think that just speaks so much volume. But yeah, like I said, I grew up in the church. I grew up going to small groups from a young age. I kind of bounced around churches growing up with moving and all of that, but I started to get to a point around probably like my sophomore year where I started to take basketball very seriously, like just trying to do my best, become the best player. And I still had my relationship with God. I still, I would read my Bible. I wasn't going to church any other day than Sunday, which, for a young kid, I think it's really important that you have a community, and I did not have one of those. And that kind of resulted me into, going into my junior year, I was at a position where I was, like, one of the better players on my team. I was one of, like, the main guys, and so that put a lot of responsibility on myself, and that resulted in me very, greatly just idolizing basketball and putting my performance above everything else. And I started to surround myself with, not Christian people, and I started to, just allow this sport and my performance to dictate how I felt, dictate not just, my attitude on the court, but my attitude in life and my mental stability. And it got to a point where I want to say around like the middle of my junior year, I was going through a pretty bad rut where I was playing some terrible basketball. I was letting my team down. I was not scoring like I should be, and that just that plummeted me in every way. I remember driving home from a tournament. I took the long way home because I didn't want to go straight home. Like, I was bawling my eyes out in my car. I didn't want to just walk in the door and act like everything was okay. And so I drove extra long, and I just remember reflecting and talking to the Lord and saying, like, why, God? Why is this happening? I've put so much effort all year into becoming the best player that I can, and at the time that my team needs me the most, I'm falling short. Like, what is this? Like, I don't have, like, I started to feel myself slip, and that's when I started to realize, like, I have no community. I am not prioritizing the Lord in any way. Like, it went basketball, then God. And I started to really recognize that, and I was driving home, and I passed our church, and I saw a big cross lit up in the parking lot, and that image just stuck with me. And I remember driving, and I looked at, the empty parking lot, and I saw the lights on and everything, and I was like, one day I'm going to be a part of that community. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know who's there, but I want to be part of this church. I just felt just a longing for a community that prioritizes the Lord, and it was the best decision ever. I ended up coming a couple months later with my two best friends at the time, and it's been amazing since. I've gotten to grow so much as a person, grow so much as a Christian. I've gotten to meet a ton of new and amazing people, and now I'm in a leadership role, which I couldn't be more thankful for. Like, those students that we see on Wednesdays and Sundays, those are like the brightest part of my week, and I wouldn't have any of that. I wouldn't have anything that I have now if it weren't for that rut that I went through. If it weren't for me idolizing basketball so much to the point that it brought me down when I wasn't playing good on the court. And like I said, that's just that's a way that looking back, like, hindsight's always 20/20, but looking back, I can truly see, like, man, I went through it, but if it wasn't for that, I would not have any of the life that I have now. And I couldn't be more thankful for sucking in basketball for 2 months.
That was a great story. Thanks for sharing.
A parallel I kind of saw between the both of you in both your stories. You both kind of touched on how, like, you kind of went to church, but you weren't really going. Like,
Yeah.
you were almost like going through the motions in a way.
Yeah.
Like kind of like Taylor's like
I was
content
just gonna
where he was
say,
gonna say
put
like
it on a
he just
shirt.
put it on a shirt.
And it's
Go
a
check out my
Christian-
YouTube channel at Cooking with Tayro. All right, back to it.
But
Merch link.
what
in
I wanted to
bio.
say is I wanted to discuss this idea. I remember I used to watch this video, or I saw this clip of this guy. It was like I think he was a power lifter, and he used to talk about how, like, people go to the gym, they exercise, and then they go and they get like a box of donuts after. And then there's other people who go to the gym, they go home, and they stay on that same regimen of eating healthy, drinking water, going to sleep at the right time. They're not just living the life in the gym; they're living the life outside of the gym. And he said this quote. It was, "People go to the gym to change their lives, while some people go to the gym to justify their lives." And I took that quote one day and I basically substituted gym for church, and I said, some people go to church to justify their life decisions, where others go to church to change their lives.
That's a bar.
That's a bar.
And so I
Need a
kind of wanted to get your
soundboard.
guys' feedback on that.
Bars.
That's so true.
I wanted to get your feedback on that quote of
Yeah.
like, what does it look like to go to church to justify your life compared to going to change your life? Like, some people obviously just go to go. Some people
Yeah.
go because like it means the world to them. It is on their calendar. They're not missing it. It's like it's a non-negotiable.
Yeah.
So it's like, what do you think is the difference between going to change and going to justify?
Scared. Are you gonna?
Oh
press
no,
a
I
button?
was just looking at something.
Okay.
Do you want to go or?
Sure. Honestly, I think there's been times that I've gone to church like after getting baptized and saying, okay, now I'm doing this for the Lord, that even then I've been just going just to go, or just because it's like, oh, it's Sunday, we gotta go to this. Yeah, it can easily just become a task, it feels like,
Just
especially
checking the box
when
almost.
Totally.
yeah, especially when you're not, like, there's some churches that I've gone to in the past where it can be very motivational speaking, and it doesn't actually dive into the word and fully read that story and say, okay, but what's God saying in this context? Not, oh, let's just take a bunch of Bible verses and make that into something of our own. I think sometimes that would, like, as a beginning Christian, I definitely wanted that more, which wasn't good. I just wanted something to motivate me and something to, not actually getting into the Bible and seeing, okay, but what did it mean then, though, and how can I relate to this now? That's one thing. I think a lot of times, especially being young, it can sometimes just feel trendy. There's a lot of, I feel like, a new wave of Christians coming where some things can kind of get twisted, and I don't think people are necessarily trying to twist it. They just think that that's the truth, when in reality it's not. Like, this is kind of a random example, but that one Bible verse that says, oh, God can strengthen me through all things, and
Philippians
people using that
4:13.
for the gym and putting like the barbells as a cross.
Yeah.
It's like,
that verse is such a great example of, you need to read scripture in context
Yes.
and not pull from out of context.
Yeah.
I couldn't quote specifically
yeah,
what the context is around it, but I do recall having it explained to me.
me too, yeah.
And it's a very different verse when you actually read what's going on around that
Yeah.
one quote. So I encourage anybody who's watching this to go find Philippians 4:13 and to read the context around it, because you'll realize that verse has a very different meaning than what people are actually trying to use it for.
Yeah. And I think that's one thing that can kind of make it feel more like a to-do list, is sometimes not matching or reading the word correctly.
Yeah.
And it's hard I'll admit I mess up all the time when I read it. I'm like, oh, this is probably what they're talking about. And then I look it up or ask someone and I'm like, oh, that's not it at all. And I think we should still be encouraged to keep reading it, even if we don't get it. It just means that, we're trying and but we should also be, having someone that we could trust, whether it's like a pastor or someone who's gone to Bible school. I've even had some Bible studies with some of the staff here. And I'll admit, some of the stuff they talk about, I have no idea what it means, but they all get it because they've studied it more and they understand different terminology and what it means. So I think just having someone who's done that research is always important to go to and not just hearing it from on stage and thinking, okay, that's that.
I want to touch on what you said with like the whole like taking scripture out of context and stuff. Is I see it, and I mentioned this in my last video of people nowadays, especially younger kids, part of this kind of like, I mean, I'm not like calling kids out, but I see it a lot where I just like see things kind of going wrong of they're trying to use the gospel to get for themselves rather than to give. The gospel's not meant to say, hey, look how holy I am because I spend this much time at Bible study, but like you then look at their character and their actions and their heart doesn't reflect it. Their actions and their heart are complete opposites of what they say and what they act on Monday nights. And it's like, it's a whole lot of just look how holy I am, not look at how holy Jesus is and look how broken I am and how much I need Jesus rather than how much, in a way, you guys need me. Like that's how I get. That's the vibe I get from a lot of people that I just kind of like meet and I interact with nowadays is a whole lot of just me instead of Jesus.
Yeah, that's so true. What do you guys think of Drewski's video where he kind of
where he's like flying around?
Yeah, that was hilarious.
Because I think that honestly is a good topic to talk about because there are things I've seen where some people are saying, oh, he's saying all this about our faith, he's being like, he's like hating on the faith, but in a way I kind of think he's calling out some of the behaviors in mega churches. I think
more than anything, I think that it doesn't speak on the on like Drewski's character or anything, but I think that the fact that it points out what Christians are doing wrong in that this is how we're perceived, or at least like how mega churches get that big rap. It's like it's for a reason because this is how non-believers see the church and see, like, obviously they're not going to see the small churches. Like, I like to think that we're a pretty small church compared to especially the places around us. And the fact that this is the reaction that they get, it's like, it's quite obvious that these big churches are giving the wrong idea.
Yeah.
They're giving the wrong idea of God served so that, Jesus died so that we could be great and so that we could be successful and rich and
live whatever life we want to live.
Exactly, yeah.
In a way, I kind of almost feel like, and I'm not going to say this about every single mega church, but I think that some things that a lot of mega churches have in common is almost, it feels like they're serving like directly to the people rather than for God.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're all the lights, the we have a lot of lights going on in here right now. But there's some things where you kind of have to think, okay, is this just to get a bunch of more people in here to go ooh and take photos and to share this, or is this us doing this for the Lord? And I think there can be ways, where some people are super gifted in visuals or in lighting, and maybe they want to make our church a bit better by, providing those talents. And I say, hey, keep doing that. But if that's the main goal, is to make it look good rather than to serve the Lord, like if it's more for our own wants rather than, okay, am I doing this to serve the Lord, or, you know, it
Absolutely.
can get a little twisted sometimes.
Yeah. I've always thought my philosophy around church in general was like, at least they're going. At least they're going,
That's
and
true.
they're hopefully listening.
Yeah.
And at some point maybe it'll stick.
Yeah.
So I've always erred on the side of like, at least they're showing
Yeah.
up.
At least they're going to the Bible, hopefully.
My thing with mega churches is kind of like, you know, if you go to like a big university and you sit in an auditorium of hundreds of people for one single class with a single professor, you don't get the opportunity to get a personalized experience.
Yeah.
And coming from someone who graduated a high school class of 60 students, went to a college where the average class size was 30, I had the opportunity to have a personalized experience in education and a personal relationship with the professors. And I see that same thing here at our church, which, yes, you would consider to be a smaller church. But I show up and I see the same people every week. I personally know every pastor. I feel like I'm getting personal relationships and personal teachings every single time I'm here on this campus. And I think that's more valuable than just listening to a big commercial message. And that's just an opinion. I'm not saying don't go to a mega church.
No, yeah.
If you want to go to a mega church, happily go. If it's your thing, you love it, and it gets you in the door, absolutely keep doing it. But for me, I've always leaned more into personalized opportunities where I get the intimacy of whatever it is I'm looking for. And I was going somewhere with this, but
You're doing good.
I feel like when you have the opportunity to have a personalized experience anywhere, it allows you to become more invested in your surroundings, which then allows you to get more out of the experience, whatever it is, whether it be sports, whether it be a career, whether it be church. And you get more people who are going to church to change their lives, not to justify their lives. And when I asked you guys for your thoughts on that quote, for me, going to church to change your life means you're living that lifestyle outside of church as well. Because there's a lot of people who show up to church and they go back to living their secular lifestyles throughout the rest of the week. They go back to church and they get in this loop of, I'm going to go to church, I'm going to repent, I'm going to get forgiven, then I'm going to go live this lifestyle of sin, go back to church and do the same thing over and over again. And it's so important to realize that that is not how it works. Like, it's great that you're following Christian philosophy and Christian culture, because it is proven and it's been shown that living upon the fundamentals of the Christian belief do just increase your life in such a positive aspect, regardless of whether or not you believe or not. Just the lifestyle of a Christian is just such a fruitful lifestyle. And even if, like, at the end of my life when I die, if for some reason there is no God or Jesus, I can still look back at it and say to myself, I lived a great life and I was a good human being, rather than not believing, dying, and then realizing that this was the truth. Then I just looked at myself and I just tell myself I just wasted my entire life.
Agreed. I think, there's something else I was going to say. Oh, it's just, to me, it's so much more fulfilling to have that community at church. And I think sometimes with bigger churches, it can be hard to find that, just because whether it's like cliques or just every time you go to church, maybe it's hard to find the same faces. You're like seeing someone new every time because it's so big. It can sometimes feel like a bit lonely, and it can sometimes almost feel like, okay, this is like a movie theater thing that I'm going to, where I'm not actually going to interact with anyone around me, but I'm just going to consume this rather than, no, maybe I should be going to, like, talk to people, or maybe I should be in there serving. And I think it's so important to be more connected like that, just because it's been the biggest blessing for me, just getting to serve on Sundays and seeing all the same faces and having them know me and feel seen and just ask how I'm doing. It's something that in some staff meetings I've said, like, it feels like a glimpse into heaven, just because you feel like you're at a big family reunion where everyone's just happy, and if someone's sad, hey, we're all going to be there for them and see what's going on. And it's just something that I really think helped me so much and helped me to find almost like a purpose in life in a way, because there were times where I felt like, okay, God, what am I doing? What's my purpose here? And I think I would sometimes get that confused with, okay, my purpose has to be a career, or it has to be dating someone, or it has to be something that I create, when in reality I think our purpose should just be to loving God and loving others. And just getting to step into church and get to do that more, getting to know my pastors, getting just to know, like, everyone, even the little kids, is so rewarding. And I'm just really blessed to be at this church.
But I can totally relate to, like, the whole thing that you brought up with, like, cliques and stuff like that is, and that's very common, especially with, like, high schoolers and early college kids. Like, the judgment is it's pretty atrocious. Like, I had gone to some other churches with some friends just to, like, try them out, and it was like, I knew one kid at the church, and, like, he thankfully, like, introduced me to a couple other people, but it was like, dude, when they would, like, see a new kid, it's like their head would go down. Like, it was almost like you didn't feel wanted around those people and around those groups, because it's like, should I be here? Like, it was just a terrible feeling, and I have never once ever gotten that feeling from being at the church that we're at, is because, like, everyone's so welcoming, everyone's so open arms, and it's because we've formed a community with each other that, like, grows, and everybody knows each other, and I think it's so beautiful. Like you said, it's like a big family, and being able to just walk in on Sunday and see someone you know, and, you know, their face lights up, your face lights up, and it's like it's just, I don't know, it's second to none. Like, it's truly amazing.
I think one thing that, I don't know if this is necessarily maybe something that's going on in everybody's head here at this church, but I think one thing that makes everyone feel so welcomed is that everyone just remembers how it feels to be entering in for the first time, and what's that like. Like, just even at young adults, like, getting to see some new people come in. I always try to think, okay, I want to make sure if someone's new here, like, I reach out to them and talk to them, or just make them feel welcome, because I know how scary it can be to be stepping into a new church community, and you don't know where that person's at. They could be, like, really having a hard time in life right now, and this might be an opportunity God's giving us to help them feel welcomed and help them find that community.
I actually have something I kind of wanted to try that we could
it.
try and do at the end of every episode, especially with guests.
Oh, yeah.
So I call it the 5 questions.
Okay.
And
sandwich questions.
they're not sandwich questions,
okay.
but I'll ask both of you and get your responses.
And then we ask you?
If you want, yeah, I can answer it too.
I don't really want to.
No, I want to.
Alright. So the first question is, what is one thing you want to be remembered for?
I want to be remembered as someone being kind, and not necessarily someone who always agrees with people, or at least always makes them feel like, oh, like, I hear you, just because there are times where I think we have to stand firm in our beliefs, and sometimes that does mean disappointing some people. But I definitely just want to be remembered, at least from people here, as someone who was always kind to everyone, no matter who they were, no matter what they believed in, and just someone that could really reflect who God is.
Oh, my turn. I think the first couple things that come to my mind are, one, I said this the other night, I want to be known as like a good father, not just to like my own kids, but to all the kids that I end up, whether it's coaching basketball or whether it's leading here at the church. I just want to be someone who can be a mentor of, you know, sacrificing yourselves, your time for others. I want my life to be a reflection of just pouring into other people and being there for whoever needs it. Just trying to, like I said, be like a figure that all my, whether it's my students or my players one day when they look back at the life that I lived, I want them to be able to say like, I'm able to, you know, reflect this mentor in my life because he reflected Jesus, and I was able to see what that means to walk and to live through all the hardships and all the glorious days through life.
I think for me it'd be compassion and just being passionate about others or relationships or just things I appreciate about life, whether they're hobbies or projects or I guess stuff like that. I should have prefaced we should probably like rapid fire them. But question two.
Oh yeah.
Question two.
Oh, I didn't know there was a second question.
There's 5 questions.
Oh,
that's why I was like, we probably should have probably should have prefaced. We should rapid fire. Question 2 is what is one truth you will always live by?
You got one, Taylor?
Pineapple belongs on pizza. All right, I got it out. Go.
God is good all the time.
I would say Jesus is the way.
Okay.
I didn't know.
The third one is what is one thing you wish the world had more of?
Gonna say pineapple on pizza?
Roller coasters.
Roller coasters.
I'm kidding. No, I wish the world just had more love for Jesus. I think it sucks, but it also, the fact that Christianity as a whole gets this magnifying glass and gets talked down on the most out of any other religion just points more and more that it's the truth. And who doesn't want to see revival among other countries that definitely need it?
I think understanding whether, it's two people disagreeing over something and one's obviously more in the right. I think just understanding both sides and seeing where people are coming from and then being able to say, okay, from here let's figure it out. What way are we gonna go? Or just understanding that, some people view things because they lived a different life that made them see things a certain way.
I would say I'd love to see more kindness in the world.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Question 4. If you were in a room with everyone you've ever met, dead or alive, who's the first person you'd go looking for?
I think my friend Sailor, because I miss her and want to say hi. How you doing?
Holy cow, that's a tough question. Shoot, I got a couple. I'd probably say my grandpa for sure. He was one of my favorite people I've ever known, and I got to spend like his last week with him when I went to Georgia 2 years ago, and you couldn't even, like, besides his health, obviously, you couldn't tell that he was ending his time. Like, he still cared so much about everyone around him. He loved all his grandchildren, and just wanting to be like him when I'm older. That's definitely mine.
I think similar to Lily, mine would be my friend Logan.
Mm.
He passed away when we were in high school together, close friend of mine. Yeah, I think that'd be the first person I'd go see just to tell him about all the things that's happened since I last saw him.
Mm.
And then the last question, what's one piece of advice you'd want to share with the world?
I would say try not to make a decision or an assumption or just a idea like so fast. Like try to do research first, or maybe like let's say it's like a mindset of, oh, this is the worst person in the world. It's like, maybe let's just think about that for a second and get to know that person, because they might be going through something that's causing them to make them not like you, and maybe we should pray for them first or something.
Mine would probably just be one piece of advice that I'd give. More than anything, just directing your eyes towards the Lord and towards the kingdom of heaven. Good things happen when you just kind of put on the goggles and, like a horse with blinders, you just focus on Him. There's always, that saying of there's light at the end of the tunnel, but I think what's more important than focusing on the light at the end of the tunnel is the person that's creating the light for you as you walk through the tunnel, and focusing on not the blessings that the Lord gives us, but the blesser and the gracious Father that He is focusing on Him through it all, through the good times and through the bad times.
I would say be patient with one another. I think some people are running while others are walking, and you need to recognize that people, regardless of age, are in different places in life, and you shouldn't be hard on one another because of it. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe, hit that notification button, and we'll see you all soon.
See you soon.